No one knew how much time had passed before Wang Lin withdrew his right hand and reached toward the sky. Instantly, countless snowflakes gathered, forming a snowball in his palm. As the snow accumulated, the ball grew denser and more compact. Staring at it, Wang Lin bit his tongue and spat out a mouthful of ancient god blood. With a hissing sound, the blood splashed onto the snowball, dyeing it crimson and fusing into it completely. As the fusion continued, even more snowflakes descended, quickly transforming the ball into a block of ice crystal. Wang Lin struck it with his right hand, and in a flash, the blood-colored ice elongated into a long sword. A blood sword. At the same time, lightning flickered in Wang Lin's right eye. A thunder diagram faintly emerged within, and from the 9 bolts of lightning swirling around it, a strand of the extreme realm lightning surged from his eye into the blood sword, merging with it seamlessly. At once, an overwhelming murderous aura erupted from the blade. Below the level of a third-step great power, no one can withstand a single strike from this sword. Since you cannot bear to part with your homeland, let this sword protect you. If anyone dares disrespect you in the future, cut them down with this blade. With a flick of his wrist, Wang Lin sent the blood sword flying straight into Shi Zifeng's body, where it instantly fused and became her life-bound treasure. I will go do something for you. You still have a senior brother on the Azure Spirit Star. If you ever need help, reveal this sword to show your identity. Shi Zifeng. Wang Lin looked at the woman before him. She bit her lower lip and slowly lifted her head, meeting his gaze. In her eyes, a love buried for 800 years quietly emerged. Wang Lin remained silent for a moment, then gave her a deep look before turning away with a sigh and stepping into the sky. His figure grew smaller with each step, fading into the distance. Watching him disappear into the heavens, Shi Zifeng's mind conjured the image of Wang Lin standing atop the shattered continent of the Thunder Immortal realm, breaking through all barriers. She recalled the moment he led countless cultivators out of the Thunder Immortal realm. She remembered how, during the Battle of Immortal Ceiling, he stood tall and proud above all others. And that figure in white robes, walking toward her amidst a flurry of snowflakes, the scene in her eyes gradually blurred. Perhaps this ending is for the best. Shi Zifeng lowered her head. In the starry sky, a cold gleam flickered in Wang Lin's eyes. While transferring power to Shi Zifeng, his powerful cultivation allowed him to scan through her memories in an instant. He did not look into her private matters, but everything she had suffered over the past 800 years, every humiliation she endured, was now etched clearly in his mind. He remembered every face, every trace of divine sense of those who had wronged her, engraved deeply in his soul. I don't mind killing. I really don't. Murderous intent flashed in Wang Lin's eyes as he stepped forward and vanished. On Cloud Roaming Star, within the Zhao family, the second largest family on this star. Though not quite a true hereditary clan, they were nonetheless a dominant force in this star domain. The current patriarch of the Zhao family had achieved high cultivation early in life and gained great merit in the Alliance War, earning a reward of powerful pills. His cultivation had now reached the mid-pure nirvana stage. On Cloud Roaming Star, he held an esteemed position, revered by his clan members, and was known for his extreme arrogance. Yet few knew that 800 years ago, he was one of Shi Zifeng's suitors. When the Shi family fell into decline, he attempted to abduct her in secret and force her into becoming his cauldron. Although this act was ultimately stopped, it inflicted a deep wound upon Shi Zifeng, who at that time was already in despair over her collapsing family. 8 centuries had passed. The patriarch had long forgotten the incident. At this moment, he sat within the Zhao family's grand hall, clan members seated cross-legged before him, listening as he preached the Tao. But just as he uttered the third sentence, an overwhelming wave of icy cold descended from the heavens, engulfing the entire Zhao family estate. In the midst of shocked gasps, a sword chi roared down from the sky, its speed unimaginable, as it tore through the grand hall, heading straight for the patriarch. It was all too fast. With a thunderous roar, the sword chi pierced the patriarch's body, and in an instant, he was annihilated, both body and soul destroyed. On Celestial Veil Star, in the Donglai family, the Grand Elder was widely known as the gentlest soul in the clan. 300 years ago, after reaching the perfect pure nirvana stage, he had spent his days like a humble gardener, cultivating rare flowers and plants to nurture his spirit. Few knew that 800 years ago, he was a close friend of the Shi family. Not yet a grand elder then, he had once forced Shi Zifeng to surrender the final artifact left to her by her ancestor, at the cost of destroying her own face. Now he wore rough cloth garments and held a watering pot, tending to his garden like a common man. Behind him stood 3 middle-aged men, respectfully waiting. Cultivation, he said, is like tending to flowers. One must understand the laws of nature and feel the changes of heaven and earth. Though I have not secluded myself in cultivation for the past 3 centuries, nor paid attention to my cultivation base, it is exactly this way that one truly comprehends the path of the heavens. The great elder's words are indeed correct. The 3 middle-aged men nodded respectfully. A smile appeared on the old man's face, but he could clearly tell that the 3 had yet to fully comprehend. Just as he was about to continue, a tremendous shock rippled through the entire celestial veil star, causing the skies and the earth to shift dramatically. A storm of wind and clouds spun violently, and a sword aura tore through the heavens and earth, rushing down from the starry sky. The sword aura was so fast that by the time the old man merely raised his head to look, it was already upon him. With a thunderous crash, the sword aura entered his body, causing his physical form to collapse in an instant, and everything vanished without a trace. Only the watering pot remained unscathed, falling gently to the ground. On the violet mist star, within the Luo family, one of the 4 great families of southern Luotian, their young clan leader, a powerful cultivator with the full backing of his family, was rarely ever challenged. At this moment, the young clan leader was in seclusion, his body naked as he violently thrust into a female cultivator, releasing beast-like growls. The female cultivator beneath him was quite beautiful, but at this moment, her face had turned pale. Her appearance rapidly aged, and in the blink of an eye, her skin shriveled into withered bones. Moments later, as her screams filled the air, blood poured from her 7 orifices, and she died an agonizing death. Next, the man stood up, not even sparing a glance, as another cultivator stepped forward to remove the body and bring in another female cultivator, her eyes glazed over and her mind lost. He grabbed the new female cultivator with one hand, preparing to use her for his cultivation. But just then, a deafening roar shook the violet mist star. The sound seemed to come from far off in the sky, but in an instant, it became overwhelming. The ceiling of the seclusion chamber exploded, and as stones flew, the man's eyes widened in terror. Without a second thought, he moved to shield the female cultivator in front of him. A sword aura howled through the air, piercing through her body without causing any harm to her, instead heading straight for the man behind her. The sword entered his body through his brow. With a thunderous crash, the man's eyes bulged, and his physical form was instantly obliterated. The woman standing beside him was drenched in his blood, and the haze that clouded her vision cleared, bringing her back to her senses. Across many places, such as the Water Net Star's Qian family, the Breaking Void Star Sun family, the Spirit-Seeking Starsly family, and more, sword auras were cutting through the skies. They shattered the defenses of the cultivation stars and targeted those who had once wronged Shi Zifeng. In the starry sky, nearly 100 cultivators were pulling 2 cultivation stars, rushing forward. The leader was an old man, exuding an aura of authority. His very presence commanded respect, and those following him looked upon him with reverence. But as they moved forward, a sword aura howled toward them from the distance. Before they could react, the sword crashed into the old man's body, causing him to collapse and die instantly. Similar scenes unfolded throughout the Luotian star domain. Every individual who had wronged Shi Zifeng in the past 800 years met their end at the hands of the sword auras. At the Thunder Immortal Palace's battleground, within the vast formation of hundreds of cultivation stars, many Thunder Immortal Palace cultivators were rushing around, setting up the arrays. Suddenly, 11 sword auras appeared in the starry sky, splitting into 11 directions and speeding away. The roar of their passage was deafening. A middle-aged man, whose face was dark as he worked on an array, was instantly struck by one of the sword auras. He didn't even realize what had happened before his body collapsed in death. In the blink of an eye, 10 others perished in various parts of the massive star array. The final sword aura roared toward the heart of the array, piercing through the vortex to strike an elder who was seated in meditation, reinforcing the array. His body trembled as blood spurted from his mouth, and his form exploded. The sudden appearance of these events sent shockwaves through the entire array, leaving all Thunder Immortal Palace cultivators in awe. Not a single person was spared, and not one additional life was taken. Wang Lin, sensing through his divine sense, released nearly 100 sword auras, sweeping across Luotian. This was the final act he had promised to carry out for Shizi Feng. With steady steps, Wang Lin moved toward the deep center of the massive star array made up of hundreds of cultivation stars. His eyes focused on the swirling vortex and the countless Thunder Immortal Palace cultivators. Without saying a word, he slowly advanced. His steps were not fast, but with every stride, the starry sky trembled, sending echoes like thunder crashing through the void. The sound grew louder with each step, becoming a booming roar that resonated in all directions. Countless Thunder Immortal Palace cultivators, pale-faced, began to retreat in unison. Unlike the Donglin clan members, who fought to the death once controlled by their minds, these cultivators now retreated like a rising tide, moving back together in a wave. As Wang Lin moved forward, a terrible howl came from the center of the star array. From the massive vortex, Lu Fuzi's voice soared, ripping through the heavens. The booming sound spread across the sky at that moment. This is the first time that Lu Fuzi and Wang Lin have confronted each other directly. Though neither has made a move, one is advancing while the other seeks to block, and it is above this star array where their clash unfolds. The sharp, piercing howl was the culmination of Lu Fuzi's lifelong cultivation, and it carried with it the power of a third-step glimpse of Nirvana cultivator. The howl made the starry sky tremble as if it were about to collapse, and countless massive rifts were torn open like swords charging toward Wang Lin. It felt as though a gale had struck, and in that instant, Lu Fuzi's might was laid bare. If a cultivator at the fifth decay of Heaven and Man stage were hit by this sound wave, their body would be torn apart, and their primordial spirit would shatter instantly. Even though both were at the third step and in the early stages of Glimpse of Nirvana, this howl would still impede any progress, preventing them from moving forward. However, Wang Lin had not yet reached the third step. He had attained the ancient God 7 stars through the Tao ancient inheritance, and with his formidable 7-star body, he could withstand the might of a third-step powerhouse. His physical strength had reached an incredibly terrifying level. Under the force of Lu Fuzi's howl, Wang Lin's eyes flashed with brilliant light. There is no sound in this world that can compare to the roar of an ancient god, especially the roar of Tao Ancient. The third step, what does it matter? Wang Lin's ancient god star mark on his forehead rapidly rotated, and as the 7 star points moved, the power of the ancient god surged through his body. Behind him, the skull of Tao Ancient materialized out of thin air. The moment the skull appeared, Wang Lin opened his mouth and released a thunderous roar toward the massive vortex at the heart of the star array. Roar! The sound, like a mighty roar, erupted, instantly overpowering Lu Fuzi's howl, creating a towering wave of sound that crashed forward with great force. Though it couldn't compare to the power of the strange existence in the ancient tomb that had shaken many powerful beings and forced the Palm Sovereign to retreat, Wang Lin's Tao ancient roar now possessed an imposing force of its own. The roars clashed violently between Wang Lin and Lu Fuzi, shaking the heavens and earth, as though two invisible figures were locked in a fierce battle. With each roar, the star array trembled, the sky ripped apart, and countless cultivators, who had been retreating, coughed up blood and were sent reeling backward. Within the vortex at the heart of the array, Yin Lazy and the others had pale faces. As they sat in meditation and focused their energy, they urgently circulated their primordial power, seemingly fearing that without it, they might collapse under the weight of the roar. Lu Fuzi, sitting cross-legged before Yin Lazy and the others, changed expression. He clearly felt an unimaginable impact, a powerful force that threatened to shatter everything in its path. His own howl crumbled beneath the Tao ancient roar, unable to maintain any sound, as if swept away by a fierce wind. Lu Fuzi's clothes fluttered, his silver hair whipping about in a frenzy. His face showed alarm, but his eyes were cold, though even beneath that coldness, shock was evident. He had thought he understood Wang Lin's strength. Despite the latter's ability to break the array in 8 breaths, Lu Fuzi had many treasures and divine abilities, and though surprised, he did not fear. In his mind, they were evenly matched, neither could overcome the other. But now his earlier analysis was being violently shaken. The roar contained an aura so terrifying that even he, a third-step cultivator, felt his heart tremble with fear. Subtly, he began to feel an overwhelming, insurmountable force. It was as though what was charging toward them wasn't a mere cultivator or even an ancient god, but a terrifying existence far beyond his comprehension, an entity that should not even belong in this realm. This being radiated a domineering aura, a battle to the heavens kind of force that exploded with ferocity in this roar. Whoever dares to block would pay the price. The roar reverberated, and the vortex where Lu Fuzi sat, which had been constantly rotating, suddenly began to slow, as though it dared not spin in the wake of this storm. Yin Lazy's face was ashen, his eyes filled with terror, and he was completely captivated by the sight before him. He stared at Wang Lin outside the vortex, unable to reconcile the figure before him with the person he had once known. Despite accepting the truth, in some deeper part of his subconscious, he couldn't bring himself to believe it. Lai Yunzi, the weakest among them, had been heavily injured in the past, and although he had recovered, his cultivation had made little progress. Even with Lu Fuzi bearing much of the impact, the residual sound from the roar was enough to deafen him. He spat blood and staggered back several dozen yards before finally halting. In his eyes, fear was evident, and like Yin Lazy, he pierced through the vortex with his gaze toward Wang Lin. In his eyes, Wang Lin seemed like a stranger, so different from the person he remembered. Has this person, with only a few hundred years of cultivation, completely mastered the battle calligraphy of my Zhan family? Fortunately, I have no deep grudge with him and even gifted him the battle calligraphy for his study. Otherwise, today, even Lu Fuzi would be unable to stop him. He has grown so powerful. The person with the most intense fear in their eyes, whose scalp tingled and whose soul seemed on the verge of flying apart, was none other than the blood god's son. He knew all too well how deeply he had offended this person in the past. Now, seeing Wang Lin in front of him, feeling the enormous mental shock from that roar, he couldn't help but tremble. As the patriarch of the Yao family and the blood god son of Luotian, he was incredibly proud and rarely felt fear. But right now he was truly scared. Wang Lin's strength filled him with dread, and an overwhelming sense of helplessness surged within him. Especially when he saw that even Lu Fuzi's expression had changed, despair began to take root in his heart. Yet, there still lingered a sliver of hope within him. Wang Lin didn't come here for me. Perhaps he came for Lu Fuzi. He must want to fight Lu Fuzi. In his eyes, I'm no more than an ant at the moment. He probably won't make things too difficult for me. As the roar reverberated, Wang Lin stepped forward, each footfall causing thunder to echo, gradually forming an immense aura of pressure. It radiated from his body, pushing directly toward the swirling vortex ahead. Since we parted ways on Vermilion Bird Star, I've seen great progress from you, fellow Taoist. I must say, I'm deeply impressed. Lu Fuzi took a deep breath, staying seated, his eyes fixed on Wang Lin, who was approaching the vortex. Slowly he spoke. The Vermilion Bird battle feels like it was just yesterday. Thinking back, the sword energy of fellow Taoist Lu Fuzi did indeed surprise me. Wang Lin continued walking, his voice calm. After speaking, he glanced at Yin Lazy and gave him a slight salute. Yin Lazy Taoist, it's good to see you again. Passing through Luotian, I have some old matters to settle. Please, forgive me, Wang Lin said, his words not a form of changing titles, but because if he called Yin Lazy Senior, it would be too much for him to bear. Yet, despite this, the word Taoist still made Yin Lazy feel a bittersweet sense of unexplainable honor. He hurriedly stood up, cupping his hands in respect toward Wang Lin. Luotian Star Domain is the home of seniors. There's no need for apologies, Yin Lazy replied. Wang Lin smiled slightly and continued toward the vortex. On Vermilion Bird Star, the two of us once worked together briefly, so we have some acquaintances. Today, fellow Taoist arrives, and Lu Fuzi should greet you joyfully. But why? When you arrive, have you killed 11 of my star array formations? Lu Fuzi's tone sharpened, his eyes narrowing as a cold gleam appeared. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged. He raised his right hand, pointing at the blood god sun beside Lu Fuzi. There is a reason for killing. You and I have no enmity. I have no intention of fighting with you. I only want this person. The blood god sun's mind was reeling, and his face drained of all color. Wang Lin's distant gesture felt as though it had severed all his life force. Standing 100 paces from the vortex, Wang Lin halted. The other party was the patriarch of Luotian and a powerful person from the battle in the outer realm. On Vermilion Bird Star, the two had briefly worked together. Although Wang Lin didn't care about his cultivation, respect between third-step great powers had to be maintained. Lu Fuzi's face darkened, and hesitation flashed in his eyes. Lu Fuzi Sr. That place, only I can take you in. The blood god sun's pale face, filled with despair, looked at Lu Fuzi as he anxiously spoke, only to be interrupted by Lu Fuzi. I'll make my own decision. Lu Fuzi stood up from his meditative position and cupped his hands to Wang Lin. Slowly, he spoke. Wang Lin Taoist, could you show me some favor and spare this person? This matter, consider it a favor owed by me. Wang Lin looked at Lu Fuzi, paused for a moment, then shook his head. This person is of great use to me. I hope fellow Taoist won't stop me. Lu Fuzi's face darkened. Though he was cautious by nature, the arrogance of a third-step great power had long been ingrained in him. For tens of thousands of years, he had been an influential figure, his words in Luotian carrying great weight. Now, he believed he had already lowered his stance and was offering a favor in return for a favor. Wang Lin should give him an explanation. But Wang Lin's words, devoid of any acknowledgement of his favor, made Lu Fuzi's face slowly twist into a cold smile. I'll see just what kind of confidence you have to challenge me in my own star array. Your roar is strong, your physical strength almost on par with a third step, but I've been in the third step for tens of thousands of years. How can someone as arrogant as you understand what that means? Wang Lin's expression remained as calm as ever. His eyes gradually began to show a cold glint. He didn't approach, but with a flick of his right hand, he coldly said, "No more words. If you want to fight, then fight." Lu Fuzi, having been famous for so long, had no real enmity with Wang Lin. Though there was now some conflict due to the blood god sun, it was merely a matter of opposition. Lu Fuzi wasn't going to offend Wang Lin too severely just for the sake of the blood god sun. In his mind, Wang Lin was no longer his equal, but held a slight advantage. But he believed that with his experience, having stepped into the third step for tens of thousands of years, he far outmatched his opponent and had no fear. Though Wang Lin had not yet entered the third step, his physical body was more than enough to match a third step great power. Furthermore, the things he experienced on the ancient star of the outer realm, the third step great powers he encountered, and how he saw Lu Fuzi, none of that mattered to him. In his eyes, Lu Fuzi was nothing. Since Lu Fuzi was stubborn and unwilling to listen, Wang Lin didn't mind teaching him a little lesson. After achieving the 7 stars in his ancient god physique, Wang Lin had not fought any third-step great powers, and now, facing Lu Fuzi, he felt the desire for battle rise within him. Lu Fuzi's gaze flickered as he locked onto Wang Lin's brow, clearly feeling the overwhelming battle while radiating from him. His pupils slightly contracted, and he immediately changed his mind. Taoist Wang Lin, if we both unleash our full power, the Luotian star domain might not be able to bear it. If we trigger the sealed realm grand array, we might end up harming ourselves. Instead, let's engage in a literary duel. The winner will be decided in 3 rounds. If you win, the blood god will personally deliver it to you. But if I win, you must leave immediately. From then on, you cannot step foot into Luotian without my consent. Do you dare accept the literary duel? Lu Fuzi believed that even if he fought Wang Lin, the most likely outcome would be a draw. Should that happen, he would fall into a stalemate. Moreover, even a slight misstep might cause injury, and that would affect his future plans, depriving him of the opportunity to capture the Outer Realm's incense power. This was something he couldn't ignore. A literary duel. Wang Lin had spent his entire life cultivating and had never really participated in a literary duel. Upon hearing Lu Fuzi's words, a strange light flashed in his eyes. The inner realm was not like the outer realm. If third step great powers fought using their divine abilities, it would cause a massive collapse of the starry sky, exposing the sealed realm grand array that surrounded the entire inner realm. Wang Lin understood this very well. Exactly. Although third step great powers are rare within the inner realm, and even more so, rarely seen in 1,000 years, there are still a few of us. We seldom engage in life and death battles, as triggering the sealed realm grand array would not be worth the cost. That's why we have the literary duel agreement. The first duel is to craft a magic item. We'll gather materials and forge a magical treasure, and with this treasure, we'll begin the first round of the literary duel. If you're not good at forging, you can craft pills or even refine souls. The second duel will be a battle of Tao thoughts, and the final duel will be a single divine ability. After these 3 rounds, our victory or defeat will be clear, and we'll leave a bit of goodwill for our future encounters. Wang Lin smiled, looking at Lu Fuzi. With a wave of his sleeve, he laughed aloud. Very well. You wish for a literary duel? One will gladly accompany you. Hearing this, Lu Fuzi inwardly sighed in relief. He saw the battle will in Wang Lin's eyes and sensed the confidence behind it, realizing that something was amiss. His cautious nature couldn't ignore this. As the ancestor of Luotian and a third-step great power, he couldn't afford to lose. Thus, he proposed the literary duel. Now that Wang Lin agreed, he couldn't help but sneer inwardly. This person is young, has not cultivated for long, and while he has reached this level, he's certainly lacking in other areas. Lu Fuzi had been stagnating at the early stage of void nirvana for tens of thousands of years due to his inability to gather incense power. During this time, he had started exploring the arts of weapon forging, pill refining, and restrictions, growing more confident. Please choose the first round of the literary duel and the item you wish to forge. Lu Fuzi spoke slowly. Weapon forging, then. Wang Lin looked at him with profound meaning in his eyes. Lu Fuzi maintained his calm expression and nodded slightly, though inwardly he sneered. His skills in weapon forging were far superior to those in pill refining, and the strongest magic item he possessed had been personally crafted by him from a broken artifact. Without wasting words, he waved his sleeve, and the massive vortex outside his body spun violently. It was as if countless mists formed, rapidly spinning into a storm. His body was swept into the storm, and in the blink of an eye, he left the vortex and appeared above the massive star formation. Behind him, the tens of thousands of Thunder Immortal Palace cultivators turned their gazes toward him, their eyes filled with fervent respect. To them, Lu Fuzi was the immortal god of Luotian. Even the 3 figures in the vortex, Yin Lazy and his companions, wore respectful expressions. To them, Lu Fuzi was like a god. At this moment, to witness the ancestor in person forging a weapon was enough to make the hearts of the tens of thousands of cultivators race with excitement. The treasure I forged today will remain in the Thunder Immortal Palace as one of Luotian's greatest treasures. In the future, during the battle with the Outer Realm, the Luotian Immortal ranking will open. Within 3 months, whoever kills the most enemies will receive this treasure. Lu Fuzi's voice slowly spread, reaching the ears of every cultivator around. As soon as his words fell, waves of sound surged, and tens of thousands of cultivators responded with fervent excitement, their voices like a tidal wave of respect. Lu Fuzi stood atop the star array, separated from Wang Lin by a distance of 100 zhang. He raised his right hand and pointed toward the starry sky. With a resounding boom, streaks of starry light began to shimmer and emerge from all directions across the dazzling night sky. In the blink of an eye, the entire starry sky seemed to be enveloped in light, revealing a stunningly beautiful scene amidst the haze. Today, I shall take the Luotian starlight as my foundation. With his right hand raised, he grasped at the starlight that filled the sky. In an instant, boundless starry light rushed toward him, quickly condensing upon his hand. Within moments, a silhouette of a tree formed from the starlight. The tree glowed with a piercing radiance, appearing as though it had been forged from countless cultivation stars. Towering tens of thousands of zhang, It floated in the sky. Let this tree take the dust that has lingered in the stars for millennia in the Luotian realm as its body, forming the shape of this treasure. Lu Fuzi's voice echoed as his left hand performed a hand seal, sweeping across the starry sky. Suddenly, the entire sky trembled. This tremor didn't stop here. It spread throughout the entire Luotian star domain. As countless ripples reverberated, innumerable particles of dust, imperceptible to the naked eye, were gradually shaken out of the starry sky. At the moment these particles appeared, a massive pull seemed to draw them in, sweeping them straight toward Lu Fuzi. It was as though a storm, encompassing all of Luotian, had risen. With a deafening roar, it brought endless dust, which swiftly gathered from all sides and merged into the colossal starry tree. The dust, which resembled nothing more than common grime, began to integrate into the tree, causing its form to gradually solidify. No longer blurry, the starry tree quickly took shape. Wang Lin's expression remained calm as he observed Lu Fuzi's artifact forging. Beneath his gaze, the massive starry tree, now several tens of thousands of zhang tall, fully materialized in the sky, appearing almost tangible. With the starry sky as soil, the dust as nutrients, and starlight as its soul, it seemed like the immense tree had existed for eons, having appeared just now. A vast and mighty aura emanated from the tree, enveloping the surroundings, while a tremendous life force spread from within, invigorating the tens of thousands of Xun'er Immortal Palace cultivators behind Lu Fuzi. This treasure's shape is complete, but it still lacks its origin. Though I am a Luotian native, I once received a great favor from the Wind Immortal realm, and have spent my life comprehending the origin of wind. Now, I shall merge my understanding of the origin into this artifact. Lu Fuzi stretched out his hands, and with a swift motion, a fierce gust of wind surged out from his body. In his eyes, 9 wind vortexes appeared, and with each turn, the wind grew more powerful. Instantly, every storm in the starry sky began to crumble under the force of this wind, being sucked into it, forming a massive surge of power that rushed toward the starry tree. Wang Lin's expression remained serene as the violent winds swept over him. His eyes began to radiate thunder and fire, neutralizing the force, and his body remained perfectly still. The gale fused with the tree, causing it to tremble as though it had awakened from a deep slumber. A powerful aura of the void nirvana artifact spread out instantly. Now it has the origin, but it still lacks bloodline. Since I intend to leave this treasure in Luotian for others, it must be a Luotian treasure, and its bloodline should belong to the cultivators of Luotian. A flash of brilliance appeared in Lu Fuzi's eyes as he pointed behind him. A gust of wind shot forth from his finger, heading straight for the tens of thousands of cultivators. As the wind swept over them, every cultivator's brow gathered a drop of blood, which was then carried by the wind and gathered in front of Lu Fuzi. Lu Fuzi bit his tongue and spat out blood imbued with the power of a third-step great power. As the blood merged with the collected drops, his sleeves flicked. Immediately, the gathered blood rushed toward the starry tree, merging into it. At this moment, a profound sense of bloodline connection surged within the minds of the cultivators behind him. Having completed this, Lu Fuzi let out a low growl, his wind vortexes spinning rapidly. His right hand raised and struck downward with a mighty force. The final step compressed the stars into a treasure. The starry tree, tens of thousands of zhang tall, trembled. With a thunderous sound, it rapidly shrank. In the blink of an eye, the towering trunk was compressed to just 10 zhang. An immense aura erupted from within, shaking the starry sky. I shall name this treasure the Luotian tree. What do you think, fellow Taoist? Lu Fuzi's expression was filled with pride, but a trace of satisfaction flickered in his eyes. The treasure, forged from Luotian's foundation, the cultivator's bloodline, and his own understanding of the origin, was not yet at its peak. However, given how quickly it had formed, he was very pleased with the result, especially considering the blood and origin power he had sacrificed. Though painful, it was all for this upcoming literary duel. They wanted to obtain this treasure, the Luotian tree, personally crafted by Lu Fuzi. Even figures like Lai Yunzi were shaken, trying to conceal the trace of desire within them. Only Yin Lazy had the Thunder Immortal Realm as his magical treasure. Although he didn't particularly care for this object, its significance changed greatly because it had been refined by Lu Fuzi. In the profound silence, Lu Fuzi's voice slowly echoed. Wang Lin's gaze swept across the Luotian tree, and his pupils slightly contracted. This tree was not particularly remarkable in itself, but it had been infused with the bloodlines of tens of thousands of cultivators, making it more than just an ordinary treasure for the early Void Nirvana stage. It contained a legacy of bloodlines. And this bloodline legacy came from the tens of thousands of cultivators. These cultivators hailed from various families across the Luotian star domain, almost encompassing all the families in Luotian. The blood flowing within them, when united, represented the entire Luotian. Any cultivator from Luotian could control this treasure. Such a massive bloodline inheritance was extremely rare. Moreover, the Luotian tree was rooted in the starlight of the Luotian star domain, further enhanced by a drop of Lu Fuzi's own blood and essence, which caused this treasure to shed the long passage of time and refining. If it were only this, the treasure would have just emerged, lacking the accumulation of time, and would not be perfect. But Lu Fuzi was truly a great talent. He had gathered the endless dust of the Luotian star domain, which had existed for who knows how long, and used it to form this tree, giving it an ancient aura. What was even more astonishing was that this treasure contained a strong will to fight. This will had been forged by all the cultivators of Luotian as they prepared for battle against the outer realm. This treasure had no flaws. It also carried a symbol, a representation. If Wang Lin were to destroy this treasure, it would be akin to destroying that will to fight, as if opposing the entire momentum of Luotian. Lu Fuzi clearly understood this and used it as leverage to expose his hidden plans from tens of thousands of years. Such a treasure could only be crafted by a third-step cultivator, and only someone with that level of power could refine it. Furthermore, a third-step cultivator would never be able to refine more than a few such treasures in their lifetime. This treasure must be a top-tier item. Wang Lin paused for a moment and then spoke slowly. Lu Fuzi's laughter echoed across the starry sky, his pride and confidence radiating from his expression. The moment Wang Lin finished speaking, tens of thousands of cultivators shouted in unison, their gazes toward Lu Fuzi more fervent than ever. At this moment, if Lu Fuzi uttered a word, even if it meant charging into a sea of flames or a mountain of blades, these cultivators would do so without hesitation. My treasure has been refined. Please, fellow Taoist, show us what kind of treasure you will create. Lu Fuzi's eyes scanned Wang Lin as he spoke these words slowly. The cultivators of Luotian have enough battle intent, but they lack a murderous aura, a bloodthirsty scent. Wang Lin raised his right hand and gently grasped at the array of stars below. With a loud boom, one of the cultivation stars shattered and flew up, breaking apart into countless pieces. From the star, a drop of golden liquid quickly surged and hovered before Wang Lin. The power of this grasp left the tens of thousands of cultivators in the distance stunned. Even Lu Fuzi's eyes narrowed. He too could achieve such a feat, but Wang Lin's expression was so calm, as if this grasp was nothing to him. This feeling made Lu Fuzi's heart shake. This person's physical strength has reached such a level. It is almost on par with the ancient god of Zhuke's star, Taoisin. Thinking of Taoisin, the ancient god from Zhuke's star, Lu Fuzi's expression turned grim. Looking at the golden liquid before him, Wang Lin's mind conjured images of the ancient god to see refining treasures. The process was as grand as the seven-colored Taoist, using cultivation stars as materials in the vast starry sky. He raised his hand again, sweeping over the star array below. A thunderous roar echoed as 8 cultivation stars exploded, producing 8 drops of golden liquid, which flew toward Wang Lin. They hovered before him, forming a circle that slowly spun. The first drop of star essence contains the endless slaughter from my Zhuke star. Wang Lin's expression remained calm as he raised his hand to point at the first golden liquid drop. The moment his hand touched the liquid, an overwhelming murderous aura erupted from his memories. The skull tower of the Tung family, the rivers of blood in Zhao Kingdom, the battles for survival in the demonic sea, The 100-day execution orders and all the past events from Zhuke Star merged into this murderous aura. As it entered the golden liquid, its color changed to crimson. A killing intent spread, enveloping the surroundings. The second drop of star essence contains countless souls from the Alliance star domain. Wang Lin raised his hand and touched the second drop of golden liquid. As his memories surged, the color of the golden liquid immediately transformed into a deep red, as blood-like as the first. The killing intent intensified, shaking the very stars themselves. In the Luotian star domain, Wang has also killed many. As if the heavens and earth had changed color, the sky turned crimson, spreading across the sky. In the Cloud Sea star domain, blood mist followed closely, and hidden killing intent lurked. The tens of thousands of Thunder Immortal Palace cultivators had pale faces. Under the increasingly oppressive killing intent, they retreated once again, their gazes towards Wang Lin filled with indescribable fear. Within the seven-colored realm, the killing intent of the Dao fruit. Yen Lazy and the others' expressions changed drastically, especially the blood god, who, upon feeling the killing intent, coughed up a mouthful of blood. Beyond the realms, the ancient stars of antiquity, the sinister aura of the blood-devouring immortal art. The starry sky trembled, and blood spread everywhere, turning the vast star array into a sea of blood, continuously expanding and sweeping across the entire Luotian. Countless cultivators shuddered as the killing intent surged. Thunder Clan, the annihilation of the clan. Countless wailing illusory souls seemed to materialize in the starry sky, emitting howls of despair before death, reverberating in everyone's souls like the rumble of thunder. In the tombs, the scent of blood. Lu Fuzi took a sharp breath, his eyes showing horror. The killing intent emanating from Wang Lin's body at that moment even caused his heart to race. Return to Luotian, the collapse of Donglin's star. Wang Lin pointed with his right hand, and the memories of his life's massacres transformed into terrifying killing intent, turning the 9 drops of golden liquid into crimson red. He suddenly lifted his head, his gaze piercing through the Tenjong Luotian tree, locking onto Lu Fuzi. In that instant, Lu Fuzi's mind shook. As soon as Wang Lin's gaze fell on him, it was as though the overwhelming killing intent that had engulfed the starry sky transformed into a dozen sharp swords, relentlessly piercing through him. He instinctively retreated several steps. The Tenjong Luotian tree in front of him trembled violently, as if it couldn't withstand the force, subtly on the verge of collapse. Compared to my life, the cultivators of Luotian lack this kind of fatal struggle aura. Wang Lin waved his right hand, and the 9 drops of crimson liquid immediately gathered together, forming a blood crystal. This blood crystal contained the killings of Wang Lin's entire life, and upon its formation, it transformed into a beam of blood light, rushing directly toward Lu Fuzi. Lu Fuzi's expression was extremely serious. As the blood crystal approached, it was as if he saw countless souls within it, souls that had all perished by Wang Lin's hand. These souls appeared to have risen from the netherworld, returning to the mortal realm, seeking to devour the heavens and earth. Behind him, the tens of thousands of cultivators also clearly felt the terrifying killing intent emanating from the blood crystal. One by one, they vomited blood, as if they were right there, screaming as they retreated. The star array vortex behind Lu Fuzi suddenly came to a complete stop with a loud rumble. The blood god turned pale and continued retreating, while Yen Lazy's eyes also showed fear as he had to step back. To him, it seemed that Lu Fuzi was not facing a single Wang Lin, but a vast mountain of corpses and sea of blood. Yen Lazy remained silent, looking at Wang Lin with a complicated expression. A single crystal of killing intent from one's entire life could force back tens of thousands of cultivators. This was Wang Lin. This treasure has no origin, no bloodline of mine, no Luotian battle will, and none of your hidden schemes. What it has is only my killing intent throughout my life. With just this treasure, I can destroy your Luotian tree. Lu Fuzi growled as he retreated, sweeping his hands in front of him to block the approaching blood crystal. His mind was shaken, and his eyes showed astonishment. He had never imagined that a person could possess such killing intent throughout their life. A cultivator like this, he had never encountered before. To him, the opponent could no longer be called a cultivator. Behind him, there was an endless sea of blood that could cover the entire realm. Such an opponent made Lu Fuzi's scalp tingle. He was reluctant to provoke him, even somewhat afraid to. This treasure only contains killing intent. How could it destroy my Luotian tree? Lu Fuzi took several steps back, steadying himself, and stared intently at Wang Lin. Because it was forged by me. If I say it can destroy it, it will. If you don't believe me, feel free to try. Wang Lin slowly spoke, his voice light, but carrying an overwhelming confidence and dominance. Lu Fuzi's expression shifted rapidly. He stared at the blood crystal, and his heart sank. He knew he had underestimated the opponent's intelligence. His original tactic was to use Luotian's battle will to pressurize and destroy the tree, thus discouraging the Luotian cultivator's resolve in the battle against the outer realms. But he never expected that the opponent had seen through his plan and had turned it against him. Those 4 words, "Feel free to try," had reversed the situation, and if they truly tried, it would lead to a battle. After a long pause, Lu Fuzi's voice became hoarse, and he said solemnly, "Do you think I dare not try?" Wang Lin remained silent, merely coldly gazing at Lu Fuzi. Time passed slowly. After a while, Lu Fuzi clenched his fist, swung his sleeve, and declared, "The first round of the scholarly duel, you win."